the parameters which I'm seeing in here. So what I did, and you can do it a number of different ways, but the way I do my modeling is to set up this core and then set up everything above it which feeds into that input model. So I got this entire big table here, which is just all of the parameters which go into the input model and their values. And since this particular spreadsheet was set up for a bunch of different steel types, whether it's black steel or stainless steel or things like that, I got the different drop-down menus, or I can simulate what's happening at the top of a bridge or top of a tower or top of any structure there, or if they're de-icing salts, I got a number of different things. But the point is that you have to set up an input table, and that's where it is. Now, the nice thing about @risk, it has got a nice feature in there where it would say the input and output variables, you can color code them. So right here up at the top, there's a color @risk cells. So if I click on it, you see all the colors are gone, but then it makes it very difficult to decipher the spreadsheet. So I tend to turn these colors on, and now I can see what's the input, what is the output, or what are some of the cells, this greenish cells, which I'm pulling out values from @risk, trying to generate the values that I want. Okay? So what I normally do is that I set up a legend for cells up here. You can do whatever you want. I chose these colors, but it tells me on how to work through the spreadsheet. Now, to simulate, and here is the word, to simulate things over time, I have a number of years, right? So I want to see what's happening at 5 years, what's happening at 10 years. So let's go to this chart here. Whatever this increment of the years, I need to do the simulations. So there are 25 points in here. So what I did was, there is a nice feature in @risk, and listen to me carefully. I don't own shares in @risk or Palisade, okay? And as a matter of full disclosure, I initially set up the spreadsheet without the @risk program. I can still do it in Excel. The issue is that when you do it just in Excel, you will be doing a lot more work in writing macros and how the presentation of the results are and stuff like that. So there are some of these features in @risk which make your job easier. And one such feature is called the sim table. Okay, what does sim table mean? That if I want to make several simulations, in this case, if I want to make it at 7.5-year intervals, let's say, on what the parameters are changing, I can set up a table up here at the top, which I call the simulation table. Okay, and in the simulation table, I can have different parameters. Let me take away this shading here so you can see what it is. For time in years, I set up a simple formula, say that whether I want to vary time or not. In this case, I'm varying the time, and I want to vary it in certain increments. Okay, I'm varying it in 7.5-year increments, and then I can do simulations all the way out to 180 years, well past what I think the structure would last. Now, the same thing I can do for varying the concrete cover, whether I want to simulate bare steel in ground with zero concrete cover, or I can have concrete cover of 6 inches, or I can have select fill of 12 inches or whatever. But all of these parameters, I set it up as a sim table. So I have the immense flexibility of varying a parameter at a time, or multiple parameters at a time, or whatever I want to do. Okay? So in this particular case, that's how I set up this entire program. And so in summary, each one of this input goes and looks for input parameter in the table above it. And in the table above it, when you click on it, you will see that in this input parameter, I have, look at this formula bar, reference to the sim table. Okay, let me not mess up my formula. Reference to the sim table, which then goes and looks at the simulation table and say, tell me what you're trying to do, and I'll simulate. And once that simulation is done, then the results come out, and in this maroon color cells are all of your results. Now, since these are way down in the spreadsheet, I tend to pull it up, the same results here, and put them right next to the simulation table. So you see a resistance here, you see the load. That's the one of the goals. Then I'm doing the limit state of resistance minus the load. Now this is where we can get our answers like what I have plotted in this particular graph. So let's do one thing. Okay, we are going to try to see whether we can get a graph like this from the model which we have created. So what am I going to do? A nice feature about Risk is that you can browse your results. So I'm going to go to the browse button here, browse results, and I'm going to browse the resistance. Okay, now it showed up as empty. Why did it show up as empty? Because it's showing the first simulation which was at a very small value close to 0. I want to run the simulation. I run it up till 180 years in 7.5 year increments. Let's see at 15 years what happens. Okay, let me do one thing right now, clear over. This is the distribution of the resistance. Okay, this is for the steel component of it. Now the corrosive component of it create a load on the steel. So I want to see on how that load is at 15 years. So I'm going to go and overlay on there the load and see what I get here. Isn't this like the load and resistance schematic which I showed? The load is actually nowhere looks like a normal distribution. The resistance looks like a normal distribution. It is in reality a beta distribution with a certain truncation limits. But you start seeing all of these differences in here. Now, let me put this on the side, and you get all of the statistics on the right hand side, the mean value and stuff like that. Let me collapse this. Let me make this window something which we are going to look at. And I'm going to go to this graph here, set this on the side, and we are going to see what's going on. Now, what you see is that when I created this graph yesterday, the simulation for the load looks a little bit different than what I did today. Well, that's to be expected because it's Monte Carlo simulation. Every time you run a simulation, the answers are going to be somewhat different. Okay, so you have to live with it. It's not a closed form solution. So now let's do one thing. If I want to see whether this overlap zone between the two curves has increased or not as I go farther into service life. So I'm going to arbitrarily pick, let's see what's happening at 100 years here, okay? So let me now go into the simulation. Well, I don't have 100 years, so 97.5 years. Look at that. You see the overlap zone has increased between the load and the resistance. That tells you that the corrosion has started to advance, that it might become a concern. Okay, so when we look at 100 years, what would happen? If I go and look at the 100 years, then I would say my probability of failure is now somewhere at close to 11.5%. My reliability index has dropped down to about 1.2. My factor of safety is reducing and so on. Now you are seeing everything, okay? And that is the beauty of this particular kind of model, that you are not just looking at numbers and imagining things. You can actually pull out the graphics